Good evening and welcome on in to another episode of From Day One, the overnight edition. You may notice we're somewhere a little that we're normally not starting an episode off. We're just at the beginning of an adventure. That's because the only item left in our taskbar for today's Ascension season requires us to get 200k of attacks in an adventure. And with this being the overnight session, it is the last trail saloon, so to speak, to try to have a completion. So we will start on this adventure, and then we still got to get Brawls and Dungeon in tonight as we go to Art Bell and Dr. Michinoku, who, when we just left them last night, was just getting ready to take his first phone call ever since leaving Coast to Coast AM. So Art Bell and Dr. Michinoku, take it away, please.
Yes, yes.
All right, Professor, this will be my first call that I'm going to take. So if you wouldn't mind, let's see what's out there. Good evening or morning or whatever it is, wherever you are, you're on the air. Dark Matter, I'm Art Bell with Dr. Kaku. Hi.
Hey, Art, wow, good evening. Incredible to hear you on the air again. My wife and I joked. I found out, I heard, or I guess I read on the internet that you were coming back to the air while she was in active labor in late July. And she joked with me that if it were not for the fact that we were about to have our first child, a little girl, just as I know you've had a blessing in your life the past few years, she joked that if that weren't the case, that your news of coming back would be the biggest thing I'd be talking about for months. So I'm really excited to hear you back on the air. And also, by the way, I don't think you have any need to do any pacing around. You're absolutely knocking it out of the park tonight with Dr. Kaku. So
he's knocking it out of the park. I'm just sitting here. Anyway, do you have a question? Yes,
I do. Okay. You know, he was talking about the matched particles earlier in the program, and the idea that something can be on the other end of the universe. And and y'all were talking about how the particle can react a certain way. And I was wondering, there's something called, I guess it's the whole field is called new physics. The idea that the standard model of the universe, how the universe works, doesn't explain everything. I wanted to know what he thinks is out there, beyond the standard models that we have yet to discover.
Okay. All right.
Well, very interesting. That's what I do for a living. My day job is to work on something called string theory. And I'm the co-founder of string field theory. And we think that beyond the standard model, that is the quarks and the electrons and neutrinos, are vibrating strings. And that the subatomic particles are nothing but musical notes on this tiny vibrating string.
Professor, back up just a little bit. String theory. Can you give us a layman's explanation of what string theory is?
Well, first, go to my website, because I have articles on this. It's mkaku.org, mkaku.org. We think that if you had a super microscope and can peer into the electron or a neutrino, you would just see a rubber band. A rubber band, and it vibrates in one way, and we call that an electron. You tweak it, and it turns into a neutrino. You tweak it again, it turns into a quark. You tweak it again, and it turns into the hundreds of subatomic particles that we have discovered so far. So musical notes, that's what we think neutrons and protons are, just different kinds of musical notes. So physics is basically the laws of harmony of these vibrating rubber bands. Chemistry is nothing but the melodies you can play on these vibrating strings. The universe is a symphony of strings. And the mind of God that Einstein wrote about eloquently for 30 years of his life, the mind of God is cosmic music resonating through 11-dimensional hyperspace. So we actually have a candidate for the mind of God.
So should I think of these strings like a harp? Parallel strings, parallel universes.
That's right. What you see around us is the lowest octave. But there's a higher octave. And the higher octave we think is dark matter. So what is dark matter, this invisible thing that holds the galaxy together? We think dark matter is nothing but a higher vibration of the string. So everything you see around you is basically the lowest vibration, and that's called the standard model. But beyond the standard model, the next set of vibrations we think is dark matter. And we think dark matter makes up most of the universe. So high school textbooks are wrong when they say the universe is mainly made out of atoms. Mm-hmm. Atoms only make up about 4% of the universe.
Are they going to change the books?
They are. Even as we speak, books are being rewritten to include the fact that atoms do not make up most of the universe. Atoms make up 4% of the universe. That's a standard model. But we now know that most of the universe is dark matter and dark energy.
I wonder what's going to happen when we pluck the string of dark matter.
Well, we hope there was an announcement a few months ago that on the space station, they found a signature that might show the existence of dark matter. However, that has to be verified and, tested again. So there is some excitement that maybe we'll snag dark matter with the space station or maybe on some detector on the planet Earth. There's a big chase going on to try to find dark matter in cosmic rays. And so, there could be dark matter in your living room. We're just too primitive to find it and detect it. But there could be dark matter in your living room right now.
Well, there is, unless my wife's turned it off and gone to bed. Let's see. Good morning. I guess it's morning where you are, or maybe it isn't. You're on Dark Matter with Art Bell and Professor Kaku.
Good morning in QRZ, Art.
Hi there. That's a ham radio thing.
That's a ham radio thing. It's great to hear you back on this evening. We're a member of the fraternity and a member of the International Order of the Crazies. So if you know what that is, you've got one of the crazies on, and another one of my fire brothers told me you were back on, and I am thrilled to hear you back on. It's been great to hear you and listen to your first show back on tonight.
If I were to guess, you're in the truck, right?
No, sir. I'm in an RV.
Mm-hmm. Okay, in an RV. Yeah, that was close. All right, do you have a question for the professor?
Yes, I do.
Fire away.
One of my RV and ham buddies and I both have volunteered at Yellowstone, and Dr. Kaku mentioned that we can expect a big volcano eruption there at some time in the future, and since we go there quite often to do volunteer work in the open season, I wondered if he could give us any kind of tips of things to look for that might tip us off as to actions that might be an indicator that this is about to happen.
Okay, you're not like the crazy guy in 2012, are you?
No, sir, not today.
All right. The radio broadcaster. Anyway, Professor.
Okay. Well, first of all, when people think of Yellowstone, they think of Yogi Bear and the cartoons and stuff like that. Mm. But we have to realize that Yellowstone Park is at the very tip of a supervolcano. Most of it is underground. And it last erupted on the scale of hundreds of thousands of years ago. So the cycle time for these eruptions is measured in thousands of years. So, however, according to one calculation, we are more or less due for another eruption. And when that happens, it could tear the guts out of the United States of America. Now, to look for telltale signs, it turns out that volcano eruptions do have warning signs, unlike earthquakes. Earthquakes can happen with very little warning. Right. However, with volcanoes, you have rumblings. You have stirrings within the volcano. Mm-hmm. And so with seismographs and with the different chemical detectors to look for different kinds of materials coming out of the volcano, you have telltale signs that something is happening, okay?
Is something happening?
Well, right now, no. Just 2 years ago, there was some concern that maybe something was building up, but nothing came of that. But it is something that we have to monitor, because if you do fast forward the videotape, it will blow at some point. It's a law of physics that it will blow. And when that happens, it's not going to be pretty at all. But again, it could be tomorrow, or it could be thousands of years in the future. The thing to do is to monitor it and to listen to it very carefully, to see the frequency of eruptions, the severity, because volcanoes, unlike earthquakes, do give you a warning.
If you thought that Yellowstone was going to go in a big way, what would you do?
Well, if the signs are there, politicians always say don't cause panic, you'll cause disruption. But if it really does look like Yellowstone is getting ready for another super eruption, I think you should let the word out. People are going to have to evacuate. Look at Mount Vesuvius. The people there at Pompeii didn't have a chance. They had very little warning. And they were caught right there, 2,000 years ago.
Let's put it this way. You're in New York, right?
Right.
So if Yellowstone went, would you be concerned in New York?
Well, definitely. First of all, the volcanic ash is going to go hundreds, thousands of miles. And of course, there's going to be mass evacuations. People are going to spontaneously get on their SUV and get out of the path as fast as they can. And we're going to be affected all the way in New York, definitely.
I wouldn't be ideally situated here in Trump, Nevada, would I?
Well, it depends on which way the wind blows. But yeah, there could be a lot of chaos in the very heartland of America.
I saw 2012. It was bad for Vegas.
Yeah, and it's not going to be good for the United States of America if Yellowstone goes up. But again, we don't know when. It may be thousands and thousands of years into the future, or maybe tomorrow. It's just one of these things we have to live with.
Okay. Hello there. Good evening. You're on the air with Art Bell and Professor Kaku. Dark Matter it is.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a question for Dr. Kaku relative to the theory of relativity. And I think one time before on our show you simply explained it, and I wondered how that relates to dark matter, and if it relates to dark matter. And also talking about Mars and the space program, I was at lunch last week in Washington, D.C., and I was sitting next to Buzz Aldrin. I think you had him on your show
right.
a long time ago, Art, and I asked him if he remembered that, and he says, yes, I do remember being on that show. But anyway, I'm a math major, but I've never understood the theory of relativity.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll see what we can do here. Thank you very much for the call. Where are you, by the way?
I'm in Northern Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C.
All right. Very good. So, Professor, relativity, anything to do with dark matter?
Okay. First of all, the relativity and dark matter are not directly related to each other. Dark matter, we think, is a solution of relativity. But relativity makes different kinds of particles possible. +2 charge, -2 charge, +1 charge, different kinds of charges. Dark matter has 0 charge. And as a consequence, will go right through ordinary matter, like a neutron. It's very difficult to stop a neutron because it has 0 charge and doesn't interact electromagnetically with the rest of matter. So relativity makes possible dark matter, but it does not determine the characteristics of dark matter. And really,
explain, if you would, explain relativity.
Well, relativity violates common sense because we think that a second on the moon is a second on the Earth. We think that a yardstick on Jupiter is the same as a yardstick on the Earth. Relativity says no. Time beats faster on the moon than it does on the Earth. And our GPS satellites also are a little bit slower in their clock, and we can measure this. So relativity gives you a very precise way in which you can determine how time slows down as objects speed up, and as they get heavier, and as they get contracted. So when an object moves toward the speed of light, time slows down in that rocket ship, space contracts in that rocket ship, and mass increases. If you calculate the amount of mass that increases in that rocket ship, it is precisely E equals mc squared. In fact, that's how you derive E equals mc squared, because the energy of motion has turned into mass. And so the essence of relativity is that because the speed of light is a constant, it means that space and time change as you go to different points and as you accelerate.
All right, so if I can go fast enough, I can time travel, in effect.
Yeah, we are all time travelers in the sense that we can time travel into the future. As you go to the speed of light, of course, you can time travel much faster into the farther into the future. Going backwards in time, that would require a wormhole or some very advanced physics. But to go forwards in time, you can do that with special relativity.
All right, hold it right there. We'll take a break. And we'll come back with Professor Kaku and see how many more questions he's good for. This is Dark Matter.
And again, of course, we'll return once our musical bumper is done. Art Bell's very first show after leaving Coast to Coast AM.
Of the area of 51. Not very long ago, our government said, "It's true, everybody. Area 51 is real. We now admit it." So I'm curious, Professor Kaku, when our government came out and said, "Yeah, it's real. We really do have an Area 51," were you, I don't know, I just laughed. I wonder how you reacted.
In the same way, this must have been the worst kept secret of modern history.
At least.
Everybody knew about it. There were eyewitness accounts, there were maps, there were documents. This was a very badly kept secret, right? However, I think what is more important is what they didn't reveal. Now, obviously, every nation develops weapons at the cutting edge of what their technology will support. Every nation does that, right?
Right.
So, of course, I would be surprised if there wasn't an Area 51. Of course there's going to be an Area 51 to test these long-range bombers and stealth bombers and things like that. The real question is, how far are they advanced? And, of course, they're not going to reveal their crown jewels. They're going to reveal the crown jewels of the past decades. So I think that's a given. Common sense tells you that, A, it exists, B, that if they admit it exists, they're going to tell you the crown jewels of the past. The big question is, what do they have now that's cutting edge? And that, of course, is a matter of intense speculation.
Well, would you like to speculate?
Well, if you take a look at the direction of their technology, right, it's in the direction of creating things that are more and more invisible. And look at the U-2. It was so high up that only the Russians could launch a missile to take them out. The stealth bomber, right? However, true invisibility is actually possible. You have to use something called metamaterials. And metamaterials in the laboratory will make an object literally disappear under microwave radiation. Now they're trying to do it with visible light. That, of course, is much more difficult because the wavelength of light is so much smaller than microwaves. But it is within the laws of physics now. Just like Harry Potter. We can't do it yet. But I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the military is spending, billions trying to perfect metamaterials that can wrap light around Harry Potter, just like in the movies, so that literally you have an invisibility cloak. We don't have it yet.
Well, how do you know? I mean, if we did, we wouldn't know it because we couldn't see it.
Yeah, it'd be a game changer too, right? Can you imagine invisible soldiers,
Sure.
invisible bombers? The stealth bomber is very visible. You just take a look at it, right? It's invisible to radar because it diffuses radar, and it has an airplane has a radar image of a bird. And so it looks, for all intents and purposes, like a bird on a radar screen, so you can still see it. But true invisibility is physically possible. It's been demonstrated now at Duke University and other universities.
Then they must have it.
Well, I'm sure they're working on it. I'm sure they're spending, billions trying to perfect true invisibility. And that's one thing I would suspect that they're working on in Area 51.
Well, that's very disappointing, it's true, because it used to be you could go up by the mailbox not too far from me here and look at what they were thrusting into the air. Now, with invisibility, that's going to make viewing much less pleasurable.
Yes, that's right. And all you can look for is the exhaust of the rocket as it goes by.
Yeah, well, people will go look at that for sure. All right. By the way, how are you for time? Are you good to go, or do you need to go?
Yeah, maybe just one last question, and then I got to wrap it up.
All right. Here it comes. One last question. You're on the air. It's Dark Matter. Proceed.
Is it me?
Hello. Yes, you.
Mr. Bell, it's good to hear you back on the radio.
Oh.
I'm studying
on Highway 285 between Vaughn, New Mexico, heading to Roswell, New Mexico on the side of the road, and I had to stop to make sure I didn't lose connection.
God, I thought you were someone else. Okay. Welcome to the program, and if you have a question, fire away.
Well, you kind of answered it, but I've got another question with Dr. Kaku's comments about inserting images and false memories into people.
Oh, yes. Yes.
With some of the things that have been going on, like some of the troops overseas and back over here that are involved in horrific incidents of killing people and walking into military bases, shooting people up and everything like that.
Yeah.
Can it be possible that the government in some way are doing something to these troops?
Okay. I've got it. Yeah, I've got it. In other words, in terms of injecting thoughts into people, I know exactly where he's going, Professor, and there are a lot of, I call them head shakers going on, things that just simply don't make sense. People shooting people all over the place. It's the downside right now of the United States. And
right. Well, let me say two things. First of all, many, but not all, of these mass shootings are done by people that are mentally ill, and they deserve medical treatment. Unfortunately, our mental health system is decrepit and non-functional. Many of these people are just left wandering the streets, and some of them get guns and will take it out on people. Second, it is possible with animals now to inject simple memories, like sipping water, for example. We cannot go beyond that because we have to decipher what is called the hippocampus, which is at the very center of the brain, which processes memory. So doing things like an entire memory of an experience and putting it into a human, that is way beyond what we can do at the present time. So I don't think the government, even with its intents, can even come close to that. When in our the most advanced laboratories at MIT and LA and other places, we can barely insert a simple memory into a mouse. So I think for the most part, we have these unfortunate incidences because we have a mental health system that is broken, and these people should be taken off the street, but instead they get access to guns, which I think is very unfortunate.
But something's changed, Professor. We've always in this country had access to guns. We just haven't used them as frequently as in recent years. So there's some other societal something that I haven't figured out yet going on. Professor, I want to thank you for being here as always.
Okay, my pleasure, really.
You're going to have people thinking about this for a long, long time, particularly WR104.
Real honor to be on this show.
Thank you, my friend, and good night.
Okay, good night.
All right, good night. All right, that's it. Professor Kaku has gone to rest, and I don't blame him. That was some pretty heady stuff, but I'm not gone. I'm not gone. And what I'm going to do is an hour of open lines. And that means unscreened open lines. Now, I will go through the remainder of the calls, and people will go, I was on hold for Dr. Kaku, and then you can sort of project, if you wish, because I'll leave you on hold. And then after that, what's going to happen, now listen to me very carefully, because this is really important. When you call, and I'm in open lines, it's going to ring for 20 rings. If you don't get through, then it's going to disconnect you, and you have to dial again. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. And hopefully I will pick up your call. Just keep trying. You will get through. I can't promise that, but I think, the effort will probably reward you with a connection eventually. In the meantime, let's do it. Good morning or evening, whatever it is, wherever you are, you're on the air. I'm Art Bell.
Hi, Art. This is Mike calling from Fresno, California.
Hey, Mike.
First of all, my radio is off.
Okay, thank you.
My late grandmother introduced me to your show back in the 90s, and been listening ever since your retirement there. It's thrilled to hear you're coming back on the air, and I've been doing a countdown on Facebook every day to see you get back on here. You're also the reason I got into ham radio and got my license.
Good for you.
I was gonna ask me Kaku a question, but he's gone. I was just wondering about the suitcase nukes. If if you really believe that all those Cold War nuclear materials have been destroyed, and if any of those out there could be turned into any type of small portable suitcase type weapons.
Okay, I'll sort of answer that. The answer is no, they haven't all been destroyed. Yes, there are suitcase nukes out there. That's what he said. They do exist, and we need to fear them because one of them is enough to destroy an entire city. Boom, gone.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good. All right, well, love that you're back on the air, Art. Great to talk to you. I tried to talk to you on the airways, but my little setup isn't quite powerful enough to get through the pile-up whenever you're on. So love hearing you, and 7-3, Art.
7-3, thank you. 7-3 is ham parlance for, best wishes and see you later and all of that sort of thing. So when you hear people throwing that around, it means another ham operator out there of some sort. And hello, you are now on the air. This is Dark Matter. I'm Art Bell. Hello?
Hello, Art.
Okay, there you are.
Sorry, I just wanted to say welcome back, 73, and I'm sorry I got in the tail end, but it's a pleasure to talk with you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
I was fortunate enough to work on the Ice Cube Neutrino Telescope at the South Pole for 3 seasons, and one of the things that that Dr. Kaku was mentioning that was unfortunate about some of these cosmic events, which might give us a gamma ray burst, et cetera, or a supernova, that we would only find out about it after it was too late. One of the things that we were working on, I wrote software for the detector, was a background kind of neutrino function that would trigger and monitor a background noise kind of thing, looking for the background neutrino input, so to speak. And what they were looking for was a buildup of a neutrino stream, and that's what happened in the early stages of the collapse of a star about to go supernova. Mm-hmm. And so it was all the neutrino detectors around the world were linked, and they had a network called the SNOOZE network, including IceCube, which is a cubic kilometer embedded in the ice underneath the South Pole. But the idea was is if you could detect this stream of neutrinos, then everybody could get this heads up and aim their telescopes and radio telescopes and optical telescopes at a particular place in the sky and measure this thing as it went off. And the question I had related to the first thing you started talking to about quantum entanglement. And so it was curious, maybe if you had a chance to ask him at some point if it was possible to study the entanglement of particles, because if you had one, for instance, that was captured in the binary black hole system you were talking about, where one of the entangled particles escaped and the other stayed in the system, yes, or a stream of them, then perhaps you could study the escaped entangled particle faster than the speed of light and detect something that was going on, way before it happened. So that was my question for Dr. Kaku. I'll just throw it into the ether.
I'm not yet comfortable with the whole entanglement thing. I mean, it's like two things are close together, they learn about each other, and then no matter how far away you move them from each other, they act the same way, and they do so communicating at faster than the speed of light. I mean, I'm just not getting it yet. Are you?
No, I don't get it.
All right, I have one question for you. What's it like to work at the South Pole?
Oh, it's a marvelous experience. It's 11,500 feet barometrically, and it's a continuous thing. It's quite cold and dry, and you never can sleep quite enough. But the experience is absolutely amazing, and the people are hardy, and you have to think on your feet, and you're never quite comfortable while you're there. And I wouldn't have traded it for anything. But when you come out of the South Pole, you go into Christchurch, New Zealand, which is just paradise. So
I'm sure compared to the South Pole, most things are. What was the biggest fear down there?
But getting injured. One of the guys, for instance, on the Ice Cube drill rigs, we drilled with hot water using car wash heaters at 100 degrees C at 1,000 psi. And one of the guys, a Swedish man, Sven got hung up in one of the hoses, and the drill rig had gone into free fall. And you have to not grab a hold of things, and his reaction was to grab a hold of it. And he got pulled up onto the rig and slammed against the top of the rig instead of free fall. Well, thank God he didn't free fall into this, meter diameter hole that went down 2.5 kilometers into the ice.
That must have been some adventure. That's all I can say.
It was, but he slammed it. His lung collapsed, and then it was almost a week before he could get medical attention. And even though they had a doctor there, it was a harrowing experience. So safety was a big problem. And then I'll say one other thing is that it's very isolating. Even though it's an active station, when you're there, you really know that you're very, very remote from civilization. But they do have a ham station there, NTX.
Oh, they do. I know. I have spoken to them. I have talked to them. All right. Thank you very much for the call. Usually, on TV anyway, when a lung collapses, somebody whips out a ballpoint pen, unscrews the end, and goes into the guy, and you hear, shh, and he's been saved. Somehow I have a feeling there may be a little more to it than that. Good evening. I never know what to say. It depends on what part of the country you're in, but you're on the air on Dark Matter. I'm Mark Bell.
How you doing, Art? This is Raphael from Colorado Springs.
Hello.
How you doing? It's good to hear you again. I've been listening to you since '94, and it's good to have you back. And I had a question for the professor, but with your vast knowledge and years of having so many guests, maybe you can answer my question too.
Who knows?
Well, my question is with the WR104 and the gamma rays, the gamma ray output when they both collide, do you think if hypothetically we had the time and the technology, do you think it would be possible to build a Dyson sphere in order to protect us from the gamma ray outburst?
That sounds, explain what that is.
Well, it's a Dyson sphere is like it was on an episode of Star Trek Next Generation years ago. And it was talking about how a civilization can enclose itself, enclose the solar system, and enclose a planet or a planet.
How about the dome?
Yes.
The dome.
The entire planet, yes.
You know what? Somehow, I just don't think there's going to be the time for that sort of thing. And certainly not the funding for it. You heard what he said about what Congress usually says to these scientists. You know, they chuckle. So there's nothing much funny about WR104. I don't think there'd be that much time or that much money. So if you heard this was going to happen, just out of curiosity, what would you do?
I'll be taking myself and my family into the mountains with as much food as I possibly can.
Into the mountains, huh?
Well, inside, if I can get in. I mean, I'm over here.
Inside a mountain. Okay, I was going to say, on top of a mountain.
It depends how, because we have NORAD over here, and who knows, they might open up the doors for the citizens of Colorado Springs and the surrounding areas, and we might be able to get in there.
Yeah, by the way, how are you doing weather-wise over there?
Oh, the rain has finally stopped. It just kept raining and raining and raining, and it finally stopped late this afternoon over here. And I think everybody just took a cursory blink of two eyes and wonder when it's going to come next.
I understand. Well, hopefully everything will be okay. Some of the video coming out of that area has been unbelievable. And by the way, referencing only briefly the incident that occurred back in Washington, the shooting. I was watching CNN today, earlier today, as the news broke. And I really, really found it interesting. There was a medical news conference some hours after this occurred, and that the head of, I don't know, the hospital there was describing the condition of various people that had been brought to the hospital. And I don't know if any of the rest of you noticed this or not, and perhaps it was appropriate that CNN did it, but just as this lady had sort of finished up with the medical condition of the people, and she'd begun to talk about, in our society, something has got to be done. There have been changes in our society, something that's bringing this sort of thing about. She didn't say all that, but she was headed down that road. And the moment she did, CNN yanked her off like yesterday's dream. I mean, really yanked her off. Just sort of, okay, on to the next show, and she's out of here. Maybe it was appropriate because she was speculating a little bit, but it's a question that really needs an answer. What's going on in our society? I'm Art Bell, and this is Dark Matter.
And again, we'll return to them once their musical bumper is done as we continue to go through the brawls.
It's XM, baby. We're really serious. Dark Matter. This is Dark Matter, and I'm Art Bell. Anything you want to talk about is fair game. I've still got a group of folks that are on hold that were at least screened for a question for the professor, and I'm going to take those calls before I move into the ones that are just ringing, reminding you that it will do that. Ring for 20 times and then disconnect you. Not my fault. That's phone company stuff. The number is 1-855-REAL-UFO, 732-5836. And with that in mind, here we go. Anything's fair game. You're on the air. Good evening or morning or whatever.
Mr. Arthur William Bell III, it is so great to have you back on the air, sir. And I would like to say that William 6 Oscar Bravo Bravo's coming in loud and clear tonight.
Oh, good. Oh, good. You scared me. You know, the way people are coming at me, they're very enthusiastic. And for about 3 seconds, you almost sound like JC, and I'm going, uh-oh.
Well,
anyway, where are you calling from?
High desert of Southern California.
Okay, excellent.
Gotcha. And wish you another great 68 here, and also many blessings to Aaron and Asia as well, your entire family there. A couple of things, a couple requests, and then to my point. Love to have you do another Antichrist caller line eventually. Love that one from back when. And also would love to see you do something on the Dark Knight that you posted on your website. That was incredible to read up on that, and would love to hear you do a show entirely on that.
Do you really think there is an Antichrist?
You know, I do believe that. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think there will be, if there's not one now. But I'll tell you, the question that I have is, and as we're listening on the air, I'm looking at an AP wire from last night that came in at about 11:35 by two guys that work for the AP, the Daily Courier and ABC News, and that came in last night at 11:31. To your point, it is on the shooter that occurred this morning at 8:20 a.m. that they released last night on the AP. And I'm staring at both of these, scratching my head, trying to figure out how it is that this would be leaked on the AP before it actually occurred.
Well, all right. If you have a hard wire copy of that story, send it to me, and I'll take it from there. That's the only thing I can say to that. I'm not saying it is not so, because you are saying it's so. So the way to prove it is send me a copy of the hardwire feed. I find it beyond all reason that it would be so, but you never know about these things. So if you have I've seen pretty weird stuff occur on the wires. So I'm not going to rule it out. I'm just going to say, send it to me. We'll go from there. And you are now on the air on Dark Matter. Hello.
Hello, Art. How are you doing?
Very well, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. I'm thrilled to hear your voice on the air again, Art.
Thank you. Where are you, by the way?
I am on the campus of the University of Delaware.
Okay.
Well, my initial question, I was going to ask Dr. Michio Kaku about your notion of the quickening from one of your books.
Yes.
The acceleration of time, but I think
that was one of my books, The Quickening, and I would say that most of it has come true, and that we are still accelerating, and in not such a spiffy way, mind you. A lot of what's going on scares the hell out of me.
Take your time. Well, I was going to talk about that, Art, but I think I don't know what Michio Kaku would have to say about that. I don't know in terms of accelerating time, if that's been looked at in physics. Are you aware of that at all? If that's been looked at in terms of complexity?
I have no idea. There may be there may be an answer in mathematics somewhere or another. I don't know. But look, the quickening. The quickening was a kind of a concept that I had, that things were accelerating and accelerating beyond our control. And I think today was another example of it. I used to call them head shakers, but you've got to admit, you've really got to admit, earlier Dr. Kaku said, well, you know, people are crazy. People have guns and they're crazy and they're doing this stuff. Well, people in the United States have always had guns. We haven't always been as crazy as we apparently are right now. Is this part of the quickening, that people are losing it more easily? Maybe it is. Certainly it's an accelerating phenomenon, and I don't know what to attribute it to. As you know, I lived for quite a number of years in the Philippines. And things are very, very different there. That's not to say that somebody may not pick your pocket, because it happens. It's not to say that there may not be some scam that goes on. It happens. But short of what goes on in the Southern Island, where there are virtual wars going on, other than that, in the rest of the nation, society is pretty much at rest. And by that I mean very, very few murders, never a serial murder that I'm aware of. All kinds of things are different. It's just a different society. And the things that are going on here that appear to be part of the quickening are not happening there. And you have to ask why. What's the difference? I think it's worth a fair amount of study to find out why in some societies, and Japan is another example, although they don't particularly have guns there. Anyway, it's something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about. You're on the air on Dark Matter. Welcome.
Art, welcome back.
Thank you.
I renewed my XM subscription after 7 years just to listen to your show. I was, like you, I was wanting to ask Dr. Kaku about the entanglement of particles. That's just brain killer there. So,
well, it is, and yet it's true, though. It's absolutely true. You know, those two particles, once they've met, will behave the same way every single time at any given distance. You know, what did Einstein call it? The exact quote is
spooky action at a distance.
That's right. That's right. And it sure is. That's spooky. It's so spooky that I don't think that science honestly can explain it at all. Not in a way I've understood.
Well, what I wonder is if they've ever had any experimental data showing that if you affect like the spin of one entangled particle, it affects the other.
Well, I guess if you were, let's say you slowed down particle A, particle B would slow down in a perfectly identical manner.
Exactly. That's kind of what I wondered. Or change the upspin electron to a downspin if the other one would automatically go to an upspin.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I don't know what to say. That's right. And to explain how that's occurring, I just don't think you can. And I know I took him out of his comfort zone when I started talking about twins, but it's the truth, isn't it? If those two particles can act the same way, millions of miles apart, then it may well be that consciousness itself is a quantum thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I'm sorry I didn't get that. And listening to your show tonight, it sure reminds me back when I was over the road and everything. It sounds like Art is back.
Okay, well, I am. Thank you very much for the call, and take care. I guess SiriusXM is a very, very serious blessing. If you're an over-the-road trucker, being able to just remain on one station all the way from Boston to L.A., that's got to be nice. I remember the old days of terrestrial radio and the big 50 kW stations, when they were there, would fade in and out, and you'd have to sort of switch from one to the other. And now, with satellite radio, Boston to LA, no problem. Seattle to Miami, no problem. Amazing stuff. By the way, if you get the opportunity, go to artbell.com. You've really got to do this. And click on the How to Listen. And when you do, you're going to see a little moving GIF, I think it is, of exactly how the Sirius satellites are deployed, I guess would be the right word. And they go all the way up into southern Canada and then do a kind of a broad figure 8 going down, near as I can see, all the way down to the South Pole, and then back up again. Now, the ones that loiter over southern Canada, they do the actual broadcasting. And so they take turns broadcasting. It's an amazing, amazing thing. The Soviets actually invented the orbit. It's incredible. Hello there. You're on Dark Matter with Art Bell.
Hi, Art. This is Carl from Wisconsin.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
You were missed.
I miss being here.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was going to ask Dr. Kaku about this. Maybe you know the answer. I thought Chernobyl was sealed up and safe, but it sounded like what he said was still an ongoing problem.
It has a sarcophagus over it and lots and lots of cement, but it is not safe, and it's not going to be safe for a lot of years.
Yeah, well, I know you can't exactly go inside it anyway.
No, you're not even really safe outside of it. There have been stories of leaks and all kinds of things.
Oh, okay.
So, no, not safe.
Yeah, because that's what I thought. I thought they had sealed it up. I knew the area around it was still dangerous, and of course what's inside was dangerous, but it sounds like the thing is almost in a way still a time bomb. It
is a time bomb, and not in the way you think of a time bomb. You think of a time bomb essentially going off, right? Well, this bomb is capable of going off or of leaking, of poisoning our planet for, I don't know how long, thousands of years? I would suppose thousands of years. And now we have Japan to worry about, Shima. And I do worry. You know, I understand that TIPCO is not telling us everything. I worry that there are some very serious things that TIPCO has not told us. I worry about the effect the water that is washing over these reactor cores, and that's what they're doing to keep them cool, try to keep them from, heading for, well, I guess it's on the other side of the world, so they'd be headed for this world, wouldn't they? The China syndrome. Backwards, well, that's almost us, huh? You're on the air. Hello there.
Art, it is an unbelievable pleasure to be on your first show back. Welcome to Sirius XM.
Well, thank you. I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
When I press the button, is there a little noise that is made so you know you're on the air?
Yes, there is. It's a little static.
Static.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like a little static and a ping, kind of, and you know you're on.
Static and a ping. Okay, that's what people can look for. Thank you.
Right. Otherwise, you're just sitting there thinking that when you say hello, is it me? No, but it's not.
Gotcha.
Well, Art, I mean, I started following you on Facebook before you made your announcement, so I guess Facebook has a lot to do with this gig that you have now, so it's pretty awesome.
Well, in the sense that Jeremy Coleman found me on Facebook and paid $5 to send me a message.
Yeah.
So in that sense, that's right.
Exactly.
Facebook is the reason I'm here.
few things I wanted to kind of go over with you since you seem to be very open. I just kind of would like to kind of get you've talked about George a little bit on Facebook, and I mean, are you at odds with him, or is it all Premier?
No, I'm not at odds with him. It's, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of what anger I had, it was all Premier. You know, George did something that disappointed me, but, you know, that's small potatoes.
And do you think that was because of the show? With with what happened about a week or so ago?
I think he's the one who says there's no such thing as coincidences.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave it there.
Okay, got you.
Okay.
Well, since you've been gone, there a few things have happened, and you just mentioned one with Fukushima, but I'd be very curious to what your opinion is on Sandy Hook.
My opinion on Sandy Hook.
Well,
my opinion on Sandy Hook, my friend, is the same as it is on each and every one of these things that occurs. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. There's something profoundly wrong in our country. I don't know what it is. Maybe together we can figure it out. I don't know, but I do know that something basic and profound is wrong in the country. Let me say it one more time. We've always had guns. This country was founded with guns in the hands of just about everybody. There are perhaps rational uses for guns, right? What we're seeing now are irrational uses of guns. What is it in people and society that's causing the irrational use of guns? Not about to get into any kind of gun debate, no thank you. But we should work on that. You know, what is it that's causing this? All right, we're going to start answering calls cold now. Like this one, for example. You're on the air on Dark Matter. I'm Art Bell. Hi.
Art, great to hear you again. I am so happy that you're back.
Okay, well, we're now in unscreened territory. You tell them. Did anybody screen your call?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Where are you, by the way?
I'm in Spokane, Washington.
Excellent. Welcome.
And thank you very much. And the sound. Now, Art, I'm somebody who didn't know about you when you were on Coast.
Okay.
So my experience with you has been listening to your reruns every single night, 7 nights a week for about the last 3.5 years.
Wow.
Finding you on internet radio. I've got a squeeze box in my bedroom that I go to sleep listening to you every night. So now none of this has caused you to contemplate the irrational use of a gun, has it? No, absolutely not. Absolutely
Good.
not.
Good.
The sound difference between the AM side and XM is dramatic.
Oh, I bet it is.
It sounds so good, and that makes me also want to know what kind of a microphone you're using.
Bayer. I always use a Bayer mic. They're German, and love them.
And are you processing in the studio there, or
A little bit, very lightly.
Gotcha. Well, you sound great. I'm so happy to hear you back.
Well, thank you, and it's very kind of you to call. Do it again.
All right, thanks, Art.
Take care. Unscreened open lines, and you are now on the air on Dark Matter. I'm Art Bell. Hi.
Hi, how are you tonight, Art?
Just spiffy.
That's great. I'll tell you, it's been a long time coming. I guess it's been about 2 million miles since I started listening to you, one of the over-the-road drivers, and just want to call and say, hey, great to have you back.
2 million miles, huh?
Well, it's substantially more than that. That's when I started listening to you, was back in about 95.
That's a lot of miles.
That's a lot of miles. I'm well past the 3 million mile mark and still going strong at 55 years old.
That's really something. I often thought, thank you, when I was, I don't know what's the right word, younger, I guess that's the right word, that I'd love to be an over-the-road trucker. Absolutely would love it. I mean, just being out there with your own thoughts and radio and whatever, I think it'd be cool.
Well, it's a different type of a lifestyle, that's for sure. But it's the miles go by a lot quicker with they like you to listen to. And then tonight's first show, couldn't have chosen a better guest. Dr. Kaku is just one of the best I think you've ever had.
All right. Thank you so very much, and take care. Yes. Okay. So he's a trucker, and I'm well aware that we are talking to a lot of truckers out there. And I did contemplate that career. I really did. I thought it'd be really cool. For one thing, to be in command of something that big, moving that fast, and then having those quiet moments on the road with just your own thoughts, and as I mentioned, the radio. I don't know, something kind of romantic about it. Hi, you're on the air. This is Dark Matter. I'm Art Bell.
Hey there, Art.
Hello.
Hi there. I was wondering, are you going to be doing the ghost-to-ghost but XM Serious Dark Matter style?
You better believe it. I don't know what I'm going to do just yet, but the answer to that is yes.
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 Well, you are celestial, let me tell you.
I don't know about that, but I will be one day.
Thank you, Art.
All right, take care. Will I do ghost to ghost? Not so-called. Just as I don't call, and by the way, I'm really sorry. A million of you have sent me messages, and it's kind of hard to track. I'm having to concentrate very hard on what I'm doing, seeing as this is my first show in a while. And so I've not paid as much attention to the wormhole as I should have. But I'm getting a lot of very, good messages there, congratulatory, and thank you very much. I will try and pay more attention to it. The wormhole is at artbell.com. Feel free to take, run over there, type in a message. It'll go in Arizona and out the other side of the wormhole right here on my trusty computer. And I will, as I mentioned, try and pay more attention. Sorry. Well, hi there. You're on the air.
Hi, Art. This is Kirby up in Lewistown, Montana. How are you tonight?
I'm well, Kirby. What's on your mind?
It is so nice to hear you on the air. I have missed you so much, you just don't even know it.
Thank you.
Are you going... Is there any way that we can record shows on this? Are you going to set up some kind of a service where we can do it like they do on Brand X Show, where you can buy some sort of a subscription so we can download the things and listen to them the next day?
Well, I know that you can actually do that. In other words, as far as I know, you're able to join SiriusXM, and the old hands at it here will let me know, but I think you can join either to listen to SiriusXM in your car, in your home with the right receiver, or you can listen on your phone. For example, I've got it on my iPhone, no problem. And you can listen to it on your computer. Now, of course, you could record on any of those devices and play it back. I think, in fact, if you've got the right receiver, it even offers a rewind so that you can rewind an hour or two and play it. There's just all kinds of things available. Now, is there on demand? I don't know. I'm sure that SiriusXM will provide me with the answer to that, but I would imagine there's some kind of, on demand, or there will be if there isn't yet. That's the best answer I can give. And you are now on the air on Dark Matter. I'm Art Bell. Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Just fine, sir.
Hey, welcome back.
Thank you. Everybody's going to say that, so.
Everybody's going to say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like do you like what you do?
I love what I do. I love what I do.
Well, you're good at it.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I actually sweat it. I worried that I couldn't do it anymore.
Oh, you're doing it. You're doing it. And that was a great guess. That was a great guess. I love that guess. I wanted to ask him a question. This is important, about H3 as an energy source. Helium-3.
Helium-3, yeah. I understand there's quite a bit of H3 on the moon, isn't there?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's one good reason to go to the moon, but apparently we're going to bypass it.
Oh, we should get H3 and use that as an energy source, I think.
Well, we need something, that's for sure.
That's for sure. I almost met you in Las Vegas once.
You almost met me?
You were sitting 8 feet from me, but I was having such a good night, I went on a real run, and I ran out of there with my money. That half an hour later, I was like, oh, I was going to talk to him.
So you were on a bender in Vegas, and I see. Well, I've always enjoyed meeting people. I don't get out that much, but I've always enjoyed meeting people and meeting listeners. It's quite an experience, let me tell you. And hello there, you're on the air on Dark Matter with Art Bell.
All right. It's such a pleasure to speak to you. I've been a fan since the early 90s.
Thank you. Where are you?
I'm in Tennessee right now, but
Tennessee.
I was listening to you in L.A.,
okay, and
I moved around a lot. But there's something that you used to do with the backward speech guy.
Uh-huh.
You remember that?
Yes.
But there was a falling out or something that you had with him. And
that is correct.
Is it something you want to talk about, or?
Yes, I'd be glad to. I asked him not to play metaphors, and he played metaphors. And I asked him not to play metaphors, and he played metaphors. And so I said, bye.
Oh, because I thought that had something to do with the situation you mentioned at the top of the show.
Oh, well, it all got mixed up together, if that's what you're saying eventually. But that's really all I have to say about it. You asked what was that was the catalyst, be the right word.
Oh, okay. Is there any plans of doing anything with the backward speech, or is that something from the past?
If another person comes along who's really good at it, I'll put him on the air.
Okay. And I'm a friend of yours on Facebook. I got in there just at the right time. I love you, and I'm so glad that you're on the air. I called Sirius about 5 times today to make sure you were premiering tonight.
They took care of you okay?
They did. They did.
Okay.
Well, yesterday they told me you were going to be on at 6:15. They told me 9:50.
Really?
It was a little crazy, but I finally got somebody who understood who Art Bell was. And they
My
said,
goodness!
yeah.
And in what time zone in the world do I come on at 6:15 or 9:15? It's always going to be on the hour.
It didn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense to you either. All right. Listen, thank you very much. We've got to take a break here. Very short one. We'll be back. We are doing unscreened open lines, which means exactly what it sounds like. They're just ringing, and I'm just picking them up like this. You're on the air. This is Dark Matter. Hi.
Oh, my gosh.
No, just Art Bell.
This is Art Bell?
It is.
Oh, my gosh. Art Bell, don't ever do that to us again.
Well, I hope I adequately explained it to you in the beginning.
Well, I honestly have to tell you, I missed the first 12 minutes, so I think I probably missed the explanation, but I'm going to tell you, I'm so happy to have you back on the air. I don't care.
Thank you.
I felt like
I'm
a
going to tell you
left at the altar.
if you'll listen as we end up the show coming up shortly, I mean, you're right on the tail end of it here, it will repeat in its entirety.
Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm just so happy to have you back, and don't you ever do that to me again.
I'll try not to. Thank you.
All right. I appreciate you.
All right. Very kind of you. Take care, and good morning, or evening. I think it's morning back there. Hi there. You're on the air. It's Dark Matter.
Hi, this is John calling from New York, Long Island, New York.
Hey, John. How you doing?
How you doing, sir? I'm actually a first-time listener. And,
okay, well, that's okay, because I'm almost like a first-time host. Not quite.
No, your reputation precedes you. You're well known.
A little bit.
I did have a question for the professor earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Both you gentlemen were speaking about the lull in the solar activity, the
I was complaining about it, to be honest. A lull is putting it mildly. You know, we've almost got a spotless sun up there. It's not entirely true. There's maybe two little tiny spots, and I think the solar flux index is like 95 or 6 or something awful like that.
Yes, and I've been watching some of that, and I came across some interesting information about that subject, in that the sun, in a sense, is protecting us, the Earth, when it's more active. But being that it's less active now, there are more cosmic rays entering towards the Earth, and some have speculated that it's not only causing more cloud formation, but a cooling effect on the Earth, which you also mentioned. So,
well, I didn't exactly. What I said was that there's a report out right now saying that the global warming that they were talking about is not occurring at the pace they talked about. That might be due, you know, if you're one of those people who believes that solar activity relates to weather here on Earth, then you might be onto something.
Yes, that's exactly what I found recently online. I'm not going to plug this website. That would be rude of me. But if you do have a show on the sun, hopefully soon, could you please discuss this with your guests if it comes up as far as cosmic rays coming from your...
Listen, if you want to plug a website, go ahead. I don't care.
All right, no, it's offhand. I can't remember the damn thing. But
okay, well then, don't put it.
But please do a show on the sun. That would be great. I'm sure a lot of listeners would love to hear more about that.
Well, do you follow it? And you've got to admit that what we've got going on right now is just crazy, and they're talking about the next cycle being even less than this one, which would be sort of nothing.
Oh wow! And there was one other thing that this could create a situation as far as the thickness of the atmosphere. So there's two possible problems. One, cloud formation due to the allowing of more cosmic rays hitting the Earth, and which would cool the Earth. There's more clouds, obviously. And then this other thing with it's slipping mine again. I'm just a little nervous.
Okay, well, just relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sir. I want to thank you for coming on the air. And
you're very welcome.
Fans are very happy about that.
Okay. Well, you just experienced an unscreened but somewhat nervous call, right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Good night. Take care. And yes, the solar situation is really, really interesting. I mean, it's really interesting. So all I can say is study about it a little bit. It's worth study. Listen, that's it. I don't know what happened to our time, but I definitely wanted to get this music in. You know who that is, right? Shooting stars across the sky. This is Crystal Gale, and this is how we close the show. This magical journey will take us on a ride. What a sweetheart. She gave this to me, came out to Nevada, and actually handed me the song and said, Art, this is for you. We'll do this again tomorrow night. Until then, I see that I've survived it. Good night, everybody, and thank you for being here.
And thank you, Art, for giving us all the shows you've done. Well, we're going to stay here for a little bit of overtime. Probably not much, but a little. As we're going to fight on here in the brawl. Just to see what we can go ahead and pick up or not. In the meanwhile, since it was so successful in part 2 in the last few days, let's go ahead and do that. We'll have a bonus Hyper Judge Judy case. And again, of course, if they like it, you'll get silence for the next 3 minutes while we're in brawls. But time to go between a limo driver and, well, I'll let Judge Judy say.
Limo driver Dennis Miller didn't get paid for taking Ginger Buck for a ride. Ginger says Dennis ruined her birthday party because she had and to tell him where to go.
I was celebrating my 50th birthday on December 9th, 1995, and I decided to surprise my guests with a chauffeured limo pickup and also a surprise luncheon destination. So I called and I arranged a 4-hour minimum at $50 an hour plus a 20% gratuity of $40, bringing the total amount to $240. And when we were headed down the road, Mr. Miller leaned over his right shoulder and said, "Where are we going?" And I said, "You don't know where we're going?" And he said, "No, I don't." And I said, "Well, it's supposed to be a surprise. It's a surprise destination." And he says, "Well, I don't know where we're going. I'm sorry." And I said, "Okay, it's the Bel Air Hotel." Then I turned to my group and I said, "I'm sorry. This was supposed to have been a surprise, and it's been ruined because the driver doesn't know where we're going." I was just furious. I was so angry because this was supposed to have been a surprise destination, and I had to spoil it in front of my group. And I told Mr. Miller, it was evident I was upset.
Okay, on December 9th, I was given this farm-out job.
Were you told that this was a surprise destination?
All I know, it was a birthday. I wasn't told it was a surprise.
Were you told where you were taking the people?
He said the Bel Air Hotel, and it wasn't really clear, but I figured out that it had to be over in Bel Air.
Clearly, I believe you that you told the person that you contracted with that this was a surprise party, that the destination was supposed to be secret. Clearly told this gentleman the destination. Mr. Miller, you did not do your job properly. You're supposed to map out a location. You're supposed to be the driver. That's your job. You're not supposed to rely on the people that you're taking. What I'm trying to figure out is something that's fair and equitable. Mr. Miller was filling in, was going to leave you in a lurch if his guy, Joe, who was 32 years old, was supposed to pick you up and wasn't able to do it for whatever reason. So he sent somebody. And he sent Mr. Miller. He used his service to take you home, which suggests to me that it wasn't so terrible. As a matter of fact, that she had requested. What she has described, sir, is inappropriate. But I don't think that she got what she bargained for. I do think, however, that you got some service from Mr. Miller. Now, the cost of his services was $240. So this is one of those cases where I believe he's entitled to something. Judgment is for the plaintiff for the amount of $120.
There's also court costs on there, too.
$120. And I suggest, sir, that if you weren't given the proper information from you, sue him. I'm here 5 days a week.
I like that. I'm here 5 days a week. Sue him. Let's do one more Hyper Judy case while we got a moment. Judy, if you'd be so kind.
Tamara Bush says she was promised her job back when she returned from her maternity leave. George Sikelros, the bar owner, says Tamara was too testy with the customers.
Well, Miss Bush, why don't you start? How long were you working for the defendant? Where were you working for him?
I worked for him for about a year, and I worked at the Olive Pit.
The Olive Pit?
Mm-hmm. And I've got a letter that he signed here stating that I was on maternity leave and that I would be returned to my job.
She came to me and told me that the finance company was going to repossess her car and asked me if I would please give her a letter stating the fact that she would be returning to work. And the understanding she knew she would not be returning to work because of her attitude at work. But she asked me to sign this letter, and I did out of, that time.
Are you trying to mislead me, madam?
No.
Were you trying to mislead me when you said that you had a letter from him indicating that you would be returning to work?
No, when he's saying that, he said I was supposed to return to work.
Interpretation of what you said to me was that this letter that you had was almost like a contract.
Mm-hmm.
And it was written by him to assure you that you were going to have a job when your pregnancy terminated. But that's not true, Miss Bush. You asked him to sign this letter to help you out.
No.
Because of other...
Well, okay, yes. Yes, you are right.
Oh, of course. oral agreement that you said that you had with him? Come back to work after the baby was born.
The oral agreement, which is stated on the paper, but
no,
okay.
It was that paper had nothing to do with anything. It had to do with him doing you a favor.
Actually, the paper, this is why I have the paper here. The paper was a guarantee to my finance company that I would have a job, which he had guaranteed to me that I would have my job back. I was very upset for having to dismiss Tamara because I liked Tamara, but the problem is the truth is this is a small business. She was running off our customers. Her bad language, her rudeness to them. We had certain rules because of neighbors on our liquor license that we have to keep the music down at a certain level because we have residents around us, which she refused to do. George did
Had you spoken to her about that?
Yeah, many times.
Does that sound familiar to you?
I had heard something about the music one time before, yes. I worked for them for a year, and I was very good friends with Linda. I loved to pieces, and I loved working there. I liked George. He never was rude. He was never mean to me. We all got along real well. And like I said, there's lots of people that go in there. I'm sure I couldn't satisfy all the customers. My shifts were very, very good. I never was told that I was a bad bartender. George had nothing but good things to say. He gave me an excellent reference.
You could throw a reference for another job?
Oh, ma'am.
That's Judy. When Tamara left, she wasn't even showing. Tamara never really showed the whole time. She was very small. We do not require, in fact, we try to go the other way. We don't ask our employees to wear skimpy clothes. They wear clothes like, normal type of clothes. Tamara could, if the issue was we didn't want her showing, which is not the issue at all.
Tell you that I credit the testimony of the defendant's partner, when she says that she did in fact discuss with you some problems that she was having with your performance at your job. I also believe her when she says that she liked you personally, and that she was sorry that you were having these problems. And I also believe that they're probably soft-hearted people and that they didn't want to do anything to hurt you. I believe that you tried to mislead me when you said that they promised you your job back and showed me this letter. I believe that they were being what they appeared to me to be, which is nice people. Miss Bush, I am dismissing your lawsuit. So this case is dismissed.
Thank you, Judge. Alright, so for the rest of these fights, until we finish one way or the other, we're going to put them into hyper mode. Fortunately, I don't have regular hyper mode because the Valkyrie's favor has wore out. So that means we will be just auto skipping out once we finish. We will finish this fight off normally because we're already over halfway through. But what is it right now? Whoa! I did not know it was that late. We're definitely gonna have to put them in hyper mode because I have to get back over to the other guild to do their guild war. Especially since I'm generaling over there. Alright, 15 seconds left on the clock. 10, 9, 8, 7. I think the damn Aurora's gonna hold out. Yep. Time. Alright, so with the one, we're just gonna auto quickly see if we can get the 8 wins. For 1 remaining life. Second we run into a loss, we'll be done. As always, please make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. Get us to those goals of 5,000 viewers, 1,000 subscribers. So both Boxing Extras and YouTube will pay attention to us. CoinBase and Ibotta are below. Fill them out. Both get yourself $10 free for signing up. Coinbase will let you do this Coinbase Learn, less than 2-minute lessons, 1-question quizzes to get yourself up to another $100 in free crypto. No strings attached, no requirements of time to keep them. And of course, you can use them here in Dominion for anything you want. Valkyrie's Favor, Emerald purchases, whatever you like, as Next year's does take crypto. Ibotta, of course, lets you get rewarded for what you have to normally do anyway, which is shopping. So why not go ahead and get paid for what you have to do? Of course, we will be back again tomorrow for a full set of episodes. The Sounds of Dominion in Part 1. Our critique of First Amendment auditors, sovereign citizens, frauditors, flat earthers, and of course, as you heard right at the end, our Hyper Judge Judy case of the night is again, as long as we don't get strike, we'll keep them going. And we'll have a new Art Bell interview in the overnight tomorrow night. So make sure you're along for that. Well, the hyperspeed, we're getting the wins. 5 to go. We'll keep it up. So, as always, please be kind to one another. May your fights in Dominion always be awesome and kind. May your brawls here for Judge rock, roll, and win. Except if you're fighting against me. I'm sorry, I've got a roof at home team. And make sure you join us tomorrow and every day as we continue to rock through on from day one. Well, every day I think we might be, not every day, but every fight, I think we might be done. Pull another win, so we keep on going. Drop a like, doesn't hurt anybody. Share and subscribe, whether it be your friends, your enemies, or anyone else in any other server in Dominion that you might replay in that we do not have a connection, which is 48 and 87. I think we have a, yep, okay. So that is where we're going to call it. So again, like, share, and subscribe, and have a good night as we leave you from day one. Enjoy your overnight and have a great night's rest. See you tomorrow.